Well, welcome to another episode of the Professor's Randomness. Recently, I have been working on paperwork to upgrade my military discharge. And of course, part of that was having to write a narrative what of the things I've been up to since I was dismissed from the United States Air Force. And it got me thinking about origin stories. I play a lot of tabletop role playing games, and of course, especially people play D&D, love to make these intricate backstories for their characters. I like having at least some sort of backstory for my Star Trek Adventures characters. Of course, all your superheroes on the TV, they always got their origin story movies, and so I thought, well, I thought I would record my own origin story. Um, and so here goes. Of course, the story begins in Miami, Florida, with James Day and Lucy Perone, who were high school sweethearts, even though if you look at their yearbooks, they were fighting all the time. But they found love, mom got pregnant on purpose, and they got married. If I understand it in that order. Um, and they can tell you that story. They got married, so my dad's parents would accept them. First part of that was my mom getting baptized in my parents' church, and I was raised Catholic. We got baptized in the Baptist church so that she could marry dad. My mom said, always said about that time, that baptism, that she didn't really get baptized, she just got wet. But maybe more on that in a future episode. So dad joins the military and gets his first assignment to Abilene, Texas, where I'm born, Dyess Air Force Base, in February of 1971, which is a great year for Dolphin stats. Of course, that was, I was born a month after they lost the Super Bowl to the Dallas Cowboys. But later that year, they began the famous undefeated season. So, yeah, I brought good luck to the Dolphins, at least for the first few years of my life. So, as a child, of course, obviously I don't remember anything from those early years. We've got a few pictures. My dad sent me some pictures of the house they lived in. Me as a baby, that sort of thing. Things I remember, or things I don't remember. My mom tells me stories of fairly vicious dust storms in Abilene. It was on a small house they had. And dad not making a whole lot of money as a brand new enlisted person in the Air Force, and my mom telling me that dad skipping meals, so that me and mom could eat. And that's my mom telling me stories like that. It was just kind of found it's part of the foundation of who I was, because I looked at even today, now that I'm 50 plus years old, I still admire and strive to be like my father, who was a man of great moral character and ethics. Whenever I'm, even now, it's, if I've got a moral quandary or just trying to decide what to do, besides, wondering what my faith would dictate me to do, or sometimes it's like many people of faith who wonder how to apply our faith to a given situation. And for me, it's all about how would my dad do it? What would Jimbo do? And that's pretty much been a pretty good answer most of my life. Is just figuring out what my father would do, and doing that. Though as you get deeper into the Dr. Day origin story, you'll quickly realize that while I know now that the right thing to do is usually what my dad would do, I cannot say that I always lived up to that moral and ethical standard or example that my father set for me, but he surely did his best to set the example of what a good man does and who a good man is. In December of 1972, my father got deployed to Vietnam to serve at Da Nang at the towards the tail end of the Vietnam conflict. And then once the conflict ended, my dad served out the rest of that 1 year tour in Korea. Of course, we couldn't go with him, and so we trucked it back to Miami, where we stayed with my grandmother in her little trailer on Southwest A Street, down really close to the heart of what we now call Caliocha, which is one of the larger Cuban American communities in Miami. I certainly remember growing up and spending many summers with my grandmother in Miami, and as I got older, watching, particularly after the Murray boat lift, watching the signs on the windows, go from we speak Spanish and welcoming to our Cuban neighbors, down to we speak English on the side windows, because there are still after some time in the businesses that if you didn't speak at least a little Spanish, you couldn't order a hamburger in some neighborhoods. So we spent from December of '72 to January of '74 living in Miami, waiting for my father to come back from Vietnam and Korea. There's a neat story. Probably the only story I remember from that time, or remember my mom telling me about that time, was for some reason I decided to run away, and so I grabbed a suitcase, put my favorite bowl and a spoon in said suitcase, and then toddled off, wearing nothing but diaper. Can't claim to be all that intelligent. So in 1974, my father returns, basically January of '74. My father returns from Korea, and then is stationed in Granville, Missouri. I'll be honest, I remember nothing of that. Maybe the St. Louis Arch. I feel I'm a kid, I don't remember much. Of course, after that, a year later, in March of '75, so a year and a half later, we moved to Scott Air Force Base in Illinois. Now that the only thing I remember with Scott Air Force Base is my Evel Knievel bicycle, because at the time, back in the mid '70s, at ABC Sports, every once in a while, Evel Knievel would be on, and you had to behave, do all your chores, tolerate your vegetables, what have you, so that if Evel Knievel was going to be on ABC Wallboard of Sports, jumping over something, you had to watch. It's a crazy man who jumped over just about everything: buses, cars, flaming hoops. There was a rocket jump thing over the Grand Canyon that I seem to remember didn't go very well for Evel Knievel, but he was like a hero. And so, you had to have the Evel Knievel bicycle. Of course, the entire time he was at Air Force Base, it had his training wheels on it. My poor father tried and tried and tried. When he had opportunity between when he was at work, tried to teach me how to ride. He'd take the training wheels off, and I'd fall and beg to put the training wheels back on. And, it took me a while to learn that bicycle, but really the story of the bicycle and how I learned about the bicycle, really comes later. Of course, my father's done intermediate trip, because he is, while he is stationed in Missouri and stationed at Scott, he's going to college, and he's earning his bachelor's degree, so that he can become an officer, and eventually go to OTS and become a second lieutenant. And of course, after that, we go to Panama City, Florida. And we go to Panama City, Florida from Scott Air Force Base. We stay at Tyndall for about 3 months. Let's see, we stayed there. We were at Panama City from July to September 1977, as my dad went to tech school, learning his new trade as an officer. And then in September 1977, we all get in the car and drive all the way to Tacoma, Washington, for my father's first assignment as an air officer in the United States Air Force. at the station at McCord Air Force Base. Um, and I have a few memories there. I mean, McCord is one of those few places. I have pictures of it, but McCord is one of those few places that I remember well. A few stories I remember from McCord. I remember white Christmases. It snowed every year. Obviously Washington State. I remember Mount Rainier. You see Mount Rainier standing in the back, standing in the backyard. You see Mount Rainier, which fortunately or unfortunately, I don't remember ever erupting while we were living at McCord, but it was a thing. I remember at McCord, my dad would get to the Christmas tree, and they had gotten this big piece of plywood and painted green and painted roads on it, and then had bought an electric train set, and they started buying little houses, and every year for a few years after Christmas, you put the tree in the middle of this big piece of green painted plywood with the boards on it. You put up the little Christmas town and run the train around it, once a year at Christmas time, which was kind of cool. It's while we were at McCord that I finally learned how to ride a bicycle because my father got tired my dad got tired of the old fashioned way of trying to teach me a bicycle, so he got clever. And he started loosening the nuts on the training wheels. And so I'd go riding bikes with my friends. Because none of my friends had training wheels. I'm I'm 6 years old. I'm the only kid that's got training wheels on his bike, and that's kind of embarrassing. But 6, 7, so I don't care. So I'm riding around on the training wheels, loosen up. I have to go back. Dad, training wheels are coming up. And I would pretend to fix the training wheels on the bike, and I'd go ride for a while. And then there was a day I'm out riding bikes with my friends, but that's what you do when you're 6. You go riding bikes with your friends. Let's see, 77, yeah, 6. Riding bikes with friends. The training wheels come up all the way, and I just keep riding. And I don't know how long I was riding my bike with my friends. So one of my friends went, "Hey George, your training wheels are you're actually riding the bike." And I think one of my friends, I don't know who, actually beat me back to the house to tell my dad that I had finally mastered riding a bicycle. And my dad took the training wheels off my bike, and I've been riding bicycles and eventually motorcycles. I'd say ever since, but I think it's been years since I've got, probably decades since I've gotten on a bicycle, and it's been about 5 years since I've ridden a motorcycle. So in March of '79, we leave McCord Air Force Base and go to Las Vegas, Nevada, the original Sin City, as it were. We only stayed there for about 3 months, as my dad did his aggressor training before the Air Force moved us overseas to the Republic of the Philippines. But that was kind of a new time. It was only 3 months, but and the bad part was part of that 3 months was in the summer, which kind of made me mad a little because it's the first time I'd ever gone to a year-round school, and actually went to a public school off base. And so it was, this 3 weeks on, 2 weeks off, or some such nonsense. And so I lost part of my summer that year because we ended up in Vegas at a year-round school where I didn't get the summer off. But I did get some extra time off, I suppose. So I guess it balanced. I remember the only thing I really remember about those 3 months is I had these 3 little girlfriends. I know you can't imagine it now, but I was probably a cute kid. And it's like my parents will tell you. And I had three girlfriends. I had 3 little girlfriends, that age, not really girlfriend, but I think my mom had these old pearls she had to get rid of. And so when we left, I gave each one of them a set of these pearls that my parents wanted to get rid of. I just appreciated the opportunity. I gave them the opportunity to get rid of those out of the jewelry box or whatever. And then we moved to the Republic of the Philippines. And that's a was a long flight for a kid that age. I'm 79, so I'm 8 years old, and we're moving to Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines, which is for me just an amazing adventure for a kid. Living in a foreign country. Um, Some of the funny things I remember though. I remember TB tests, this fear that we're going to get tuberculosis and then never leave the Philippines. Fear that I'm going to do something to get us. And my mom would always threaten us. Your behavior is a direct. That's not my mom's version. Your behavior is a direct result on your father's career. And, if you do this, that, and the other thing, we'll get put on international hold, and we'll never leave the Philippines, and it'll be all your fault. So that began a pattern in my life where outside the home, I was a great kid. I had everybody fooled. Thought Lieutenant and Mrs. Day had a wonderful kid. I can't remember people captain by the time. I think he was still lieutenant in the Philippines. I thought I had a perfect kid, and I was just a horrible kid at home. I was grounded all the time. What else? Let's see. Philippines is the first time I ever played football. Mostly played, offensive line, defensive line. I wasn't very good at it, but I tried the heck out of it. Playing football is important. So Dad liked football, so I want to play football. I think I played basketball 1 year, and realized that there's a reason I don't play basketball. No hand-eye coordination whatsoever. Philippines is where I first wore glasses. First realized I had vision problems, which of course spoiled any chance of me becoming a fighter pilot. So that dream went out the window when I started wearing glasses. Because back then, you didn't have the overnight contact lenses, and even by the time I got old enough to go to college and maybe go Air Force ROTC and be a pilot, you couldn't be a fighter pilot if you had 20/20 vision. So there was no that. The Philippines was a neat time. Random stories about the Philippines. So the volcano didn't erupt while we were there. I learned to bargain when I was in the Philippines. I remember everyone had these silly little sports glasses, and they would fold up flat. We'd press a button, it'd pop up, and they were little sports glasses. And you buy them. There was a shop off base which you could buy them at, and they were like 30 pesos or something like that. And I remember my mom wouldn't buy them for me to save up the money to buy them. And then, went off, when I finally had enough money, mom would take me off base for one of her shopping trips to buy baskets, and we'd go that. And my mom would say, okay, so buy, and don't pay, don't pay the sticker price, or the bargain with them. And they were making my mom proud, telling her I'm just a little kid. You don't want to charge just a little kid for this. This is all my money, and got a pretty good deal on the glasses, on the sports glasses. I think in America maybe it was like $4. I remember tornadoes, no, not tornadoes, but typhoons. We call them hurricanes over here. I don't really know if you understand a typhoon or a hurricane is. I remember one of the coolest things was having one of the typhoons come over Clark Air Base, and the eye of the typhoon, parked over the base, over our house. And for just a little while, they all went outside. It was bright. We just had this massive wind and rain and storm, and then this calm, sunny day. And you could see the wall of the eye of the tornado. Just fascinating. And then we went inside and went through the rest of the tornado typhoon. Probably one of the people I remember most while in the Philippines was our houseboat Chris. I don't know what my parents paid to leave an officer, and all the officers had houseboats because we could afford, live in help. Because the exchange rate between the American dollar and the Filipino peso. And for the first couple of years, we had the same houseboat. And Chris was one of them. I learned how to cook. The first person that taught me how to cook was Chris. Um, got a little spoiled having a maid in the house. One and only time in my life I ever had a maid. Um, my favorite story about Chris is a New Year's Eve story because my parents are going out for New Year's Eve. They're leaving me with the hospital. And I had done something. I don't know. I can't name all the things I did to break the rules. I was in trouble. Probably had to do with homework. I remember I was always in trouble in school for not doing homework. My teacher was always like, "He's just too smart. We can't fail him." My mom's like, "Fail him." She tells me that today. So she encouraged my teachers to fail me or hold me back. I'm kind of glad they didn't listen to it. And they give you special programs where you get signatures from your teachers during the day, and based on how well I behaved in school during the day, was how many hours I had to sit at my desk doing homework. And if I didn't have homework, I'd just stare at the wall. I spent, most days I didn't get to go out and play because I was sitting with that stupid desk, either doing homework or staring at the wall, because I've been punished for some one thing or another. So it's New Year's Eve. I'm being punished for something. I guess since it was the holidays, I probably was at school. It was probably something else I did. Again, I was a terrible child, always in trouble. And of course, I'm sad. I was like 10. So of course, when you're mad, when you're 10, you're crying and weeping and making the house girl, making Chris feel sorry for me. And my parents went to whatever New Year's Eve party they went to, and as soon as they were gone, because I got to go to bed early, couldn't stay up for the fireworks, couldn't stay up, until midnight or whatever. And as soon as my parents left, Chris got me out of bed, and we went out in the yard, and we picked fresh banana. We had like 2 or 3 banana trees in the yard, and we got fresh bananas off the banana tree, and we made banana pancakes. And we stayed up until George got tired. George did not make it until midnight, I'm sure. But we stayed up and we watched TV and ate banana pancakes until I fell asleep. And I guess Chris put me back to bed. And she was a wonderful woman. She's a right, neat lady. If I remember correctly, she eventually got TB and took home on base. We had a succession of her hospitals after that, just like the same. But she's one of those very special people that I'll never forget. But and we spent 3 years in the Philippines. I still have a scar. You can't see it on the camera, but there's a white scar right here on my hand. We had guinea pigs in the classroom, and I think this was like 4th grade, right before we went to the 5th grade center to Wagner Middle School, which was a nice mile walk to school. Whereas the elementary school was right across the street from our house. But we had guinea pigs in the classroom, and they started fighting or whatever. And dummy me decided to stick my hand and try to break them up, keep them from hurting each other. And I had one just rip out the skin here. And they didn't put stitches in, but they bound it, and it took weeks to heal. And I still got a scar from those stupid guinea pigs. That some kind-hearted little twit decided he was going to stop him from fighting by putting his hand in the way. People think I'm smart. The Philippines are kind of the first place we get some realization of the political world. Obviously, we lived in the Philippines when Reagan was shot. The Philippines actually did a report on it on Lennon when John Lennon was going. Kind of those things happened. So that's I think we'll stop here in the next episode, because once we leave the Philippines, we get from the Philippines to Las Vegas, Nevada. It's 6th grade, junior high, first year of high school. We moved to Tallahassee for high school. So I think that's enough for this video. And then in the next episode, talk about me as a junior high and a high school student, and I might actually remember things. Ciao for now.